Thanks very much, Mani, and thanks for staying with us in Paris. We launched here all of 7 or 8 months ago, so it's still early days for our French business, but growing really quickly. So I think my sort of remit today was really to talk to you guys about talk to you guys a little bit about our experience of trying to bridge this online-offline divide. You know, we're an unusual business. We're a hybrid between a conventional, let's call it conventional, offline hospitality experience company and this sort of digital heritage world where most people interact with us for the first time through through our website or through our app or through some other digital channel. And that's also infused the way we've thought about a lot of the product experiences, which do sort of move between online and offline elements as you sequence yourself through the customer journey. And I'll come back and talk a bit about that. For folks who don't know anything about One Fine Stay, if you can read this across the fold on the screen. So we were a business launched in 2010 in London, and very simply put, we're offering guests the best of both worlds. It's a luxury hospitality or boutique hospitality experience, but in the setting of someone's private home. Now, behind the scenes to make that possible, we're having to build relationships with owners of these properties, and that's really where this all begins. And the relationship we have with homeowners, folks like you have a flat or apartments or a house in the center of a city, is that you earn some free money when you're out of town. And what do we mean by free money? We mean that we'll do the work. We'll take the risk, we'll take the hassle out of it, we'll take all the complexity out of managing your home as a small hospitality experience. So you get back from your vacation and you get your place back just like you left it, maybe a bit cleaner. While you've been away, we've gone in, and our fairies, the magic sort of gremlins have gone in, and we've cleaned everything. We've moved your things out of the way, the things you don't want touched by guests. We've prepared the home. It's our linens on the bed, the same thread count linens as you get in a 5-star hotel. It's our toiletry products on the bathroom shelves. It's fluffy towels. It's all the sort of pertinences of that luxury hospitality experience. When guests arrive, we welcome them in person on arrival, and we do little things like lend guests an iPhone during their stay. Again, that's an integral part of that customer journey that guests enjoy, which seamlessly blends both offline and online components. Since we launched in London, we've expanded internationally. We launched in New York in 2012, and in Paris and Los Angeles late last year. And I'll come back and talk about this in the end, but clearly we've hit a nerve because the business is growing very rapidly indeed. You know, behind the scenes, this business from the inside feels much more like a conventional service delivery or hospitality company in some dimensions. We have a property management service in each city where we operate, which is quite heavily staffed. We have quite a sophisticated hospitality business. We're providing all the services and supports and the concierge facilities for people when they're in town with us. And our website, I'm pleased to say, has been celebrated. It's a very carefully curated selection of properties, more than 2,000 now globally. And we believe that our brand is presented through all three of those service dimensions. It's as important for us to get the hospitality experience right for guests as it is for us to get the property management experience right for homeowners, as it is for us to get the front end, that sort of shop window on the world correct for folks who visit us at onefinestay.com. I've talked a little bit about what it is that guests enjoy or what it is that we offer guests when they come and stay with us. And just to step through that experience, you know, there's something about staying in a home which is a fundamentally distinct experience from staying in a hotel, no matter how good that hotel is. But the challenge with staying in a hotel, with a home rather, is the variability or the uncertainty of that service experience. If you're traveling on your own expenses or if you're quite price sensitive, that you're willing to take that risk and you're willing to roll the dice a bit when you travel. Certainly younger travelers or folks who are very price sensitive are going to be comfortable making that trade-off decision. Folks who are a bit older, people traveling with kids, people traveling for business trips want the assurance and they want the confidence that when they look at a place on a website or they look at a place through a brochure, that they're going to get the same experience when they arrive. And crucially, that if something goes wrong or if there are issues during their stay, that there's someone local who can fix it. And if I had to characterize what it is that we feel our proposition is to guests, it's that combination of curated experience and authenticity of experience in a private home, but with that assurance layer around the brand and the service offering and the assurance that we're promising you're going to have a good experience during your stay. In many ways, the people who stay with us are the same people who you'd find staying in a boutique hotel or an upscale hotel in the center of a city. You know, we are a city center brand today. That may not always be true, but today that is true. And the folks who stay with us would really consider us as an alternative to, it might be the Hilton at one end of the spectrum, it might be a Ferndale Group property, or the Crosby in New York, or something like that. And if you look at the way that guests cognize or understand the experience we're offering, many benchmark us to a traditional hotel, and others benchmark us, if they're more used to the idea of homestays, to a vacation rental experience with that assurance and promise wrap on top of the core. It's particularly popular among creative professionals, folks who travel and are never quite off. What I mean by that, if we look at the blend of our business, around a third of people come and have some business during their trip. But only a minority of those people come only for business. And it's funny, when I find myself traveling, it's very rare that I'll go to a place and do no work at all, particularly if I'm traveling to a major city. I'll always have a couple of meetings on the edge and partly justify the trip in my own mind because it's a little bit of work and a little bit of pleasure. A lot of folks who come stay with us for business will bring their families with them. And again, why not, right? You're going to a major city, why not add a weekend on the end of your stay? And an option like this suddenly becomes a very natural fit into a type of lifestyle that is increasingly becoming preponderant for a certain class of professional and a certain class of people in new media and digital business industries. And the other natural group, of course, is families. For families, this makes a lot more sense than 3 adjoining hotel rooms, which is a pretty miserable way to spend a week with kids. I touched on this already. You know, we've very deliberately thought about our service journey as one that blends offline and online elements. And actually, over the last couple of years, we've deliberately pushed both into the offline world as well as into the online world. I'll pick an example of that. We started doing print publishing about 18 months ago. We launched a print magazine called Guest Book. It's been very well received. It's been up for a couple of awards, and I think it's a really good example of how online businesses or digital heritage businesses can make use of traditional media for communicating. It's fascinating what happens. I wish I had one with me I could show you. When you put this in someone's hands, the way that their facial expression changes, the way they engage palpably differently with your brand when you live in a digital world and you're extending your presence into a print world. And we are a follower here. We'd love to be a leader, but I'm looking at brands like Net-a-Porter, Mr. Porter, and so on, who have really pushed the envelope on how to do this well and how you can really change the profile you enjoy in people's minds, even when you don't have a high street or retail presence. And then the iPhone piece, which is at the top right of this slide, the other end of the spectrum. You know, we are about to launch our guest app, which at the moment is only available on the phone that we lend you during your stay. We're about to launch that through the App Store as well. So folks who've stayed with us can access the service even when they're not during stay. And again, that's all a mechanism for us to build that ongoing relationship with guests, both during stay and after stay. One of the insights we've come across, and it's been reinforced by some recent work we're doing speaking to guests, when people travel with an iPhone or with a smartphone in their pocket, particularly when they don't feel they're being stung for local data charges, their relationship with a service changes. They suddenly feel empowered and they seek self-mastery in that moment. They don't want the dependence of having to ask for help. They want the autonomy that they have by being in constant control and in charge of their own life. And you think about how you behave differently, whether it's because you have a taxi cab, Uber in your pocket, whether it's because you have Google Maps in your pocket, whether it's because in our case you can speak to the concierge 24 hours a day, and so if you do have an emergency or there is a problem, there's someone you can talk to. But the rest of the time, you're on your own because you feel confident being on your own. And that's a fundamental reconstruction of what hospitality means, the idea that hospitality can be about empowerment rather than about being mollycoddled. We've grown quite quickly. We grew fast in London. It certainly felt like it at the time. We've grown a lot faster in some of our newer markets. That's because we're getting a bit better as time goes on, doing what we do. There's also, of course, with a business like this, the natural network effect that folks who've had a good experience with us in London might seek to stay with us in Paris or New York on subsequent trips. And Los Angeles, unforgivably, is not on this slide. I'm pleased to say is doing roughly the same thing and roughly the same way. I don't have more slides, but I'm happy to take any questions if people have them. Of course, I can't let this opportunity go by without encouraging you, if you have a place in Paris, which is sitting empty for part of the year, to get in touch. But I'd also love to invite anyone here to come stay with us in one of the cities where we operate. Please feel free to quote that code. Follow us on Twitter, and otherwise, I'm open to any questions. And thanks again for having us today.